So I'm gonna do a video here on how to deal with problem characters and problem players. I've seen people do, well, at least from the videos that I've watched people try and tackle the subject, and it seemed like they were having difficulty with it. And I believe that I've had less difficulty with it for a very specific reason, and that is because I don't know whether it was ordained by God or what, but I've had a lot of problem characters in my games, and in the games I played in. I meant just endlessly. I meant right now I got 3. Well, and I wouldn't call them problem, but some of the things they do is problematic. But not the typical throwing things by the wayside and everything, but well, let me give you an example. So, and I've touched on this on another video, and so my wife, for instance, my wife's extremely strong-minded woman, love her to death, but she every time the party goes this way, she goes this way. She is extremely hard to motivate in any way possible. And, within reason, she makes a lot of sense. I mean, these guys, they're wanting to go on high adventure. They're wanting to get the loot. They're wanting to explore. They're wanting to do great things, and they want to, risk it for the biscuit. My wife is playing a very pragmatic character. She's like, oh, we're stranded on an island. This is our possible escape. Let's go do this. Because this is what we need to do. We're trapped on the island. We got to go do this. So she's wanting to escape the island, and they're wanting to, well, there's a lot of good quests here, and these quests are got some hefty rewards, and there's treasure, there's this, there's that, and everything. Let's collect this stuff before we go. So she's wanting to go one way, and they're wanting to go the other way. So with my wife's case, in the party's case in the whole, I added 2 NPCs. One NPC was the character that I spoke about, the downtrodden ranger, and I had the blink dog for my wife. Well, my wife's been wanting a dog in the game, and she loves dogs in real life. And having the blink dog gives me 2 things that I really needed. One of which is the dog has the average intelligence of a human being, A, and B, the blink dogs are all lawful good. Yay. So wherever there is suffering, the blink dog will go to try and help. So, and my wife will go wherever the blink dog goes. So by giving her a pet, it's really, I hate to say railroading it, but just trying to give her motivation to stay on track. I meant, as a player, she told me, hey, because we spoke about this, and she said, what I need is, I need motivation. This is, I'm playing my character, and my character feels this. I'm like, okay, well, I'll put in motivation. So that was my way. Now, I put the other character in there to help, and this I think that all GMs should do is you should always have an NPC in there that kind of stays on the back, but if need be, they jump in and they can help out and skew the battle to help, or they can stay back and not do much and everything. But you have to kind of work that in, on why they're not as active in certain times and why they're more active in others. And it's easier to control exactly what they do, so they can help the parties out of a real jam. In case of you never know when like someone casts sleep and then everybody goes to sleep, something like that. So you definitely need I bring in NPC. It's been a while. I kind of waited it out for a while because I'm pretty good at gauging what they can handle and what they can, and I can curve a lot of rolls. But playing such a non-linear game that having a character in there to help give them some guidance, because I don't think that they're used to my type of GMing style, and my GM style is I make games the way I like to play them, which is I like lots of options. And sometimes, it's like sitting at home and you have 30 video games sitting on the shelf, and all of them are pretty good, but you can't decide one to play because you have 30 to choose from. It's kind of like that. They have too many options, and because they have too many options, they get confused on what they should do or what they really want to do next. But one of the things that I've seen other people do videos on was dealing with difficult players, and sometimes a player is difficult. They play characters, and they play characters crazily. Like one time I had a guy, and we're running a fairly serious campaign, and I did some serious writing on this, and it was organically flowing this way, and he just acted like a complete ass and went this way with it, and just completely, just basically, he was just, hell or high water, I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want, and just started messing everything up. And so I had his god come down, pull him into a black room, and like beat him like Goku on Vegeta, and then throw him back out with like 1 hit point, and his last thing he says to him and everything is like, get your shit together, and then after that he kind of, because this is something that I always do, is there's an overarching plot, and the gods are involved in this and everything. The gods are very real, the gods are very involved, and so the gods they're in your corner trying to get you to take care of this. And if you're doing something that's going to mess up this timeline on what needs to be done, they can come down and lay the smackdown on you and say, hey, you're messing this up, we need you to do this. So I had the god come in there and fix it. Now I've heard of players, characters, going into a town and treating the town like they're Negan and they own the place. So they're coming in and they're just, hi, I'm just gonna ruthlessly slaughter people. In a case like that, what you want to do is, the first thing you want to do is you want to subdue him with veteran soldiers, and I meant like some high-speed veteran soldiers, and then you want to throw him in a jail cell that he can't break out of. Then you want to post a big-ass fine, and this is the big one, is that they have to wait like a week or a month or whatever, something like that, or whatever, some period of time and everything, to make sure that they miss out on an adventure while they're sitting and rotting in a cell, while the players outside are gaining XP and they're gaining stuff and everything, and they're taking, like, maybe take away some magical items and everything. Oh, these magical items will pay for your bond and everything, but the local magistrate and everything isn't going to be dealing with any cases for the next 2 months. So you're going to sit and rot in this cell and everything. After that, then they'll let you free, but then you're not allowed to be in this area anymore. Like that type of stuff. And any player that any player that does stuff like that is because they're trying to live out their crazy little fantasies in the game, and they're basically trying to Grand Theft Auto the game. And the biggest way to put a kibosh to that is show them what it's like when they don't have any options at all. And then when everybody else is playing their character and you're sitting in your cell, getting food kicked underneath your door and everything while you wait. And then if you try and pull it again, you get thrown back in there again. But this time they take the rest of your magical items, and then they keep doing that stuff to you. That's going to put a kibosh to that. He's going to be done. And be like, this is going to continually happen. I mean, if this is the way you want to go with this is what's going to happen. If they're such arrogant asses that they just keep doing it and everything, then eventually just kill the character. It is what it is and everything. I hate to say it, but you probably, if someone's going to be like that over and over again, they're probably best not to have them in your game anyways. Now, what's going to happen if you have like two players that can't seem to get along? Now, I love this one because I actually had this problem myself, and it was the first time I ever had this problem, and it was with me. I had I was playing in a game, and there was another player that was playing in the game, and it was a new game, and I had never played in this game with these guys before. And the one guy that was GMing the game, um, he played in my game, and then he wanted me to play in his game. And so I went and jumped in his game that had been running for a handful of sessions. And so I came in there, and I love rogues, bards, swashbucklers, stuff like that. And now, granted, I may dip into ranger or something like that, but I like skilled characters. That's my thing. I like guys that could do stuff. And so coming right out the gate, I'm like, I'm playing a rogue, you know. So I got these really cool ideas of what I'm going to do with them and everything. And so one of the things I worked out with the GM was I was going to, because I wanted to make like a swashbuckler, but I wanted to have him with a pistol and a rapier. So we worked out where he used a hand crossbow, but he called it a pistol and stuff like that. I mean, the GM was really bending to make the character concept. I mean, ultimately, he was still using a hand crossbow, and if he had said no, I would have just used the hand crossbow and everything to do the same thing. I mean, still, in every sense of the word, it was a hand crossbow, except for we called it a gun, But two of the players, but mainly one of them, didn't like the fact that I was playing a rogue. And he didn't like the fact that I was playing a rogue because rogue has thieving skills. And he didn't like the fact that my character on occasion would pickpocket people, or he would eye people for possibly stealing stuff from and everything. If he saw a quick, couple, bucks he can make off somebody, if they're rich and he wasn't, his kind of, mentality is, spread the wealth. And he did not like that at all. And he went, and he firmly believed, and we got into a whole diatribe on this, that he believed that stealing in the game, not stealing from players, stealing from NPCs, will lead to player killing. And so I was like, no. I was like, stealing in the game, and I was like, here for starters, rogues for the longest time weren't called rogues. Their class was called thief because they stole stuff. In fact, they used to get an XP bonus for stealing stuff. I'm like, it's part of the game. It never hurt anything. Every once in a while you get caught, get a little penalty, call it a day. And it doesn't mean, it's going to result in player killing. Yes, you can have a lawful good character and a party with a thief. You know what I mean? It can be done. I used to play paladins. I played a paladin once and everything where we had a thief inside the group, and there's plenty of times and everything where you can have a thief. But he and I clashed on that. He believed that and he would do out of character things, and this is where I ended up having to get the GM involved, because I would do shady things, like but I would always make sure that when I did something, because I realized that two of the characters in the group were lawful good, that my character didn't trust them, and for that reason, he always did things and everything when their backs were turned. So, like, very opportune times, like, everybody's walking in this direction. And so I would go and, try and pass this off and everything, and he would say, roll perception. Did I see that? I'm like, how are you going to see that? You were walking that way. You know what I mean? You specifically said you were walking that way. I held off to wait till you were walking that way, and then just like, even though he didn't know my character was a rogue and all this other stuff and everything, he was metagaming to catch my character, because as a player, he didn't like rogues. and so he was going to use that against me. And so I ended up talking to the GM and everything, and there was a handful of times that the GM had to step in and say, hey, stop it, put a kibosh to it and everything. But most of the time I ignored it, and then I found out the other guy that didn't like the fact that I was Steve started really liking me when I started stealing stuff for him. And when he started seeing, like, one of the things they absolutely loved was the amount of DPS a rogue can do. And when they start seeing the amount of DPS a rogue can do and jumping in there, they liked him in that sense. So then, I just toned it back, and my character was originally chaotic neutral, and because they were lawful good, and my character was chaotic neutral, and I seen that there was a clash between the personality types and everything. I openly changed my alignment to chaotic good, and I did so in front of the rest of the group. And I strive to do much more good things, and be much more transparent in front of the characters and stuff. And so it calmed it down. It calmed it down a little bit. However, I still felt like hey, there was metagaming involved. There was stereotyping against my character just because it was a rogue, and the other character didn't agree with it. And he wasn't a paladin. It wasn't like a lawful good paladin. Somebody playing extremely autocratic lawful good paladin. He just didn't like rogues, and he didn't want to see him win in the game. And I'm like, wait a minute, man. You need rogues. Rogues find traps. Rogues do this. Rogues do that. I'm like, they're core to the class. You gotta have one in the group. I always like to have one in the group for to throw in all kinds of crazy little traps and stuff like that. But we were able to kibosh that because we came to some type of understanding between each other. I bent a little bit, and got the GM to get on his case and everything a little bit on the other side, and we still got a little bit of edge going and everything, but for the most part, we try and stay out of each other's way. It's for the group. You try and get your guys to go for the group. If you can't get them to get along, and you can't come to like some type of compromise with the group, and then one of the guys has to go. You know what I mean? It's as simple as that, and as a GM, you got to be the deciding factor on who it is that's got to go. You got to pull them aside and say, hey, this is what's going on. We can't have this. Either we have to find some type of compromise between you guys, or one of you has to leave. It's just one or the other. Another problem I have is with problem people, and one of the things is I bring my stepson into this game, and he is he's 11, and he sees it as social hour, and he has a hard time staying focused on the game, and he creates a lot of problems this way. And I had somebody hit 1 year older than him before playing the game years ago, and what I'm gonna do with him is the same thing that we did with them, and of which is it's really hard to get them to motivated and pay attention. But you have to get everybody in a character. You have to get them to follow suit, and you have to levy some type of punishment for them, and to get them to get into that role playing thing, because and it's not so much as that you're really punishing them, but they're young and it's hard for them to stay focused, and they have to learn to stay on track with what's going on in the game. They got to pay attention. And one of the things I did with the 12-year-old that played in our games many moons ago, oh my god, that was like 11, 12 years ago. He's a grown man with a family now, but we had him play a really dumb character. He played a really dumb character, and because his character was so dumb, it afforded him to make a lot of really poor choices, and it made sense. you know, and it's just because he was 12. I mean, a 12-year-old's mind is just, I'm sorry, it's just not going to be as sharp as, a 20 or 30-year-old. It's just not fully developed. And so, but he had a blast. I mean, after about 6 months, he really got a feel for the game, and he was able to play his character well. And I was really impressed with the progress that he made in the game, and that's what I'm trying now with my stepson, is trying to get him to stay focused and get on track, and be able to play that. And we all started off somewhere, and we were all young and we all played too, and we got to give them the chance, that we had, long as they're trying, long as they're trying. I mean, if they're just going to come over there and they're not going to take, even try to take it seriously, then it is what it is. Maybe you got to wait another year or whatever until they're a little bit more mature. But that also means that you got to kind of be careful about, what you talk about in the game, and all this other stuff, and you kind of keep it PG-13, and that makes it hard. One of the games I played in recently, and I had my stepson there, and sorry, that was my wife. But so we had this session, and we had another child that was around 10 or 11, and I pride myself on being a really good parent, and I try and teach my kids, self-control, and I give them lots of structure in their lives. But at the same time, I I will sit there and sit down, and I'll let them come sit and play in a D&D game. And any of you guys know out there, that having an 11-year-old in your game is a pain in the butt. Sometimes I'll have him sit down and play Warhammer with me, and trying to play Warhammer with 11-year-old is a pain in the butt. Though he's getting better, and I'll tell you what, he can actually beat some of those guys down there, and I'm gonna laugh when he whoops up on somebody, because when I get to tell them that they just got schooled by an 11-year-old, I'm gonna laugh so hard. However, there was another kid that came down to the shop where we played the game this time, and he was about Aiden's age, and the child he just was not staying on track at all, and he was very, very, very disruptive, and it became more of a game with Aiden. He kept sucking him in and trying to get him to do all this other stuff and everything. And so, yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to him, because we got to put the kibosh to that and everything. I, as long as I have him there, I can control him, because I'm responsible for him. Having another child there, and you never want a child that young, around other adults anyways, that at least one of them isn't you're the parent, who brings their kids around other adults. I mean, that's really odd. But yeah, we'll do that. But ultimately, if you it comes down to this: if you want to curb a problematic character, you have to find the character's motivation. And that requires you to have the character be sculpted enough that it even has motivation, and also look at the motivation of the player. The player is going to have his own motivation, and if the player's motivation is death and destruction, who's to say that death and destruction can't happen in an Lilithid cavern? You know what I mean? Because, if it's like Tasmanian Devil. You just push them in the right direction. It'd be nice to see all that destruction over here, just not in the center of the town. So a lot of times you have to just motivate them. You got to find out what their motivation is, and once you find their motivation, 9 times out of 10 you can be able to solve the problem there, because you just got to find a way to motivate them, to get them to do the right thing. And you know, it's like if not, you do fear and retribution. You know, if motivation doesn't work, you can always just have their god come down and smack them around, or you can punish them by putting them in a prison cell, or you know, or there's lots of different ways you can do stuff like that. Um, but that's all I got on that. If you got any more questions, just let me know.